the right kind of accountability can change your life, but it needs to be from the right people. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's conversation. So let's do it. Welcome everybody to the Dream Lifestyle Podcast, where the goal is to help you craft your dream lifestyle by becoming the best version of yourself. Today's conversation is like no other because for the first time ever on this podcast platform, we have a guest, and not just any guest, not just any guest. We have my beautiful fiance, Joy, is here.
I'm here.
And we are talking about accountability. Now, one, y'all don't know what I had to go through to make this happen, but I'm
don't like being on camera.
Thankful. I really am thankful.
Yes,
okay. Like all jokes aside, I'm thankful. Just because I know that this is outside of your comfort zone and everything like that. But I do believe that just within our relationship and just who you are, that there's a lot of valuable insight and lessons that people can learn when it comes to accountability, because that's what we're talking about. And the reason being, one of the things that really stood out to me when me and you started talking and dating was not just the way in which you held me accountable, but the way in which just people responded to you. Right. And in that, I think that's kind of where the accountability kind of started, just because you had people telling you things they wouldn't even tell their own moms. Like they would tell you stuff before they went to their own parents. Like that was just nuts to me. And so I just wanted to talk about so what do you think about accountability just in general? Like, do you know that you have that effect on people, or is that just...
No, not really. Honestly, when you told me that you're like, the relationships that you have with your friends is not normal. Like the role that you play in their life and in people's life is not, it's not just an average relationship that you have with them. Like you have great influence. I was like, really? Okay. Didn't know that. I mean, to me, it's just, that's my friend. And as their friend, I am going to hold them to a standard because like...
But what is that standard though? Because you don't play. Like, I think that's the thing. You really don't play when it comes to holding your people to a standard.
Well, one, it's kind of a morality standard. So like what is like a base level of good? Because you also have to think about people believe different things. And I mean, I'm a believer. So at the end of the day, my standard is the word of God. Right. But like not everybody believes in that. So I don't hold everybody to that standard. But there's a basic level of like morality and standards that just about everyone or most people have. So kind of holding them to that and thinking about, okay, well, what is rational? What's a logical response here? And just pointing out anything that, okay, maybe you missed this, or what about this scenario? I like doing what ifs and kind of the role plays, or did you think about this, playing devil's advocate? I enjoy doing that.
Yeah, I think it's cool just because the point that stood out to me in what you just said was the fact that you don't need to hold everybody to the same standard.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I agree with you in the sense that it is a level of morality. Like, I think whether or not, because both of us as believers, right, like there is like a higher standard that we're called to, which is the word. But when it comes to the people that we have around us, like we have some friends that are believers. We have some friends that are believers, but they may not be as strong in their faith. But wherever anyone falls, like I think for each person, it is necessary for them to properly assess like what standard they need to hold another person to. And because like I know for me, obviously what I do for a living is basically holding people accountable and stuff. But essentially like in that, it's having those real conversations because I do think at the root of the morality, there does need to be a great level of relationship.
Oh, yeah.
So like for me, it is like, and a lot of people say communication, but I think for you, you're more of like experience. Like there's communication, like you like having experiences with your people.
I do like having experience with my people. And, as you were saying that, I even think about how I have a standard for friendships. So even the people that are in my circle, I'm not your yes man friend. I'm not about to tell you like, yes, girl, egg you on all the time. You did that. Like, even if you're in the wrong, no, I'm going to call you out and say, I don't think you should have did that. Like, what were you thinking? I'm not about to go along with everything that you say, because I would be doing you a disservice if I did that.
Ooh,
I would not be challenging you to grow or be reflective and think. So
have you ever had one of those situations go wrong? Like, in the sense, because some people don't have the maturity to receive that type of accountability. Yeah, because I know just even someone could hire me to hold them accountable, essentially, and I could still hold them accountable where it's, why did you do that? Like, that made no sense. Like, were you thinking about that? Right?
See, yeah, it's all about and how you do it, and this is where the experience comes into play, because knowing the person, I'll have a better insight on how I can respond to them, because as the Bible said, there's a time for everything, and it's not always the time for me to immediately call you out like, girl, that was dumb. Like, what are you doing? There are other times where it's like, okay, like, tell me what you were thinking. Like, okay. And even the tone and how it's brought up. So it's not like attacking. But then again, there are some friends where they need like a taste of reality. Like, you have to talk to them just very rash. Like, okay, you're making a fool of yourself. Or like, come on, we gotta try something different. Or like, do you realize you've been down this road before? Doesn't this this sounds like the same problem you had 2 years ago. So what are we going to do different? Like, let's really talk about that. Let's game plan this together. And then, making it a point to say, like, I'm on your side as your friend. You know me, I have your best interest in mind. This is not to hurt you or to attack you or any way like that. So you kind of got to layer it in.
I think you bring up really two great points. So one of the greatest lessons that I've ever learned with communication that I think has just transformed my ability to communicate, whether it be with one person or many, is that idea of tone.
Oh, yeah.
Right, is that idea of tone, because everybody can't receive the same tone, right? Like, some people you can really get on, like, bro, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, where you think, like, that was dumb, right? Some people you can have, like, more of a colder, harsher tone with, and they receive it well. But also at the same time, there are people that you kind of have to, let's think about this for a second. Like, take a second. You have to kind of give them a more gentle approach. But I think that tone makes a really big difference. But I also think in what you just said and why accountability, like, some people confuse being direct with with holding someone accountable. Because I do think there's a difference between me just calling out a wrongdoing versus, okay, I'm going to call out a wrongdoing, but let's walk it through together. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You kind of described that with what you were saying, where it's, you can have a conversation with your homegirls and say, that was crazy. Let's walk through, like, maybe how we avoid this the next time. And I think that's like one of the biggest differences between, again, just like calling someone out and being direct, as everyone says, versus I'm just going to hold you accountable. Because it's not just, I'm just going to, basically air you out, right? I'm not just going to embarrass you, because we all make mistakes. Like, no one's perfect.
Right.
But it is like, through experience, in your case, through me, it's kind of communication. And I have experiences with some people too. But it's, through all those communication methods, we're actually able to build a relationship. But then in holding each other accountable, it's, I can be honest with you, but I'm also going to handle you the right way.
Right.
But also I'm going to handle you in a way where you don't think you're alone. If you're looking for accountability, you need to check out the Dream Society. For $20 a month, you can join a community that will give you the support that you need and the accountability that you need to hit your goals every single week. And for $20 a month, it is the best investment that you will ever make in yourself. So I want you to go to dreamsociety.info right now to join, and let's get back to the episode. To figure it out.
Yeah. Right. And it's funny, you have experienced this with me when it comes to tone. So
Yeah,
tell the people about your experience and how you can change or cater your tone to get something done or communicate something.
So what I had to learn was there are some areas that I can hold you accountable to that I can be a little more harsh pointed to, and you'll be okay with it. But there are some other areas that I have to treat you a little more gentle. And not to say I was ever like, crazy harsh or anything like that, but you did make it clear, and I kind of caught on to it based off your response. Okay, I might need to change my tone here. Because, but I think even that takes a great level of self accountability, because that's something that like we had a conversation about it, but I also noticed it through your response to me holding you accountable. So because I saw your response, it didn't seem to me like a positive response. Like it didn't seem like what I had said. You were more focused on how I had said it as opposed to what I had said.
What was it?
Like I knew just based on the response, I needed to change. It might have been like something about like the gym or something like that.
Because we have differences on how we view being fit or like working out. I am more so, I'll go outdoors, I'll go on a hike or take a class of some sort. Like that, I like working out and not knowing I'm working out. So
I'm against all that. Go to the gym where there's chalk. Go to the gym where it's free weights. Dude, that's a gym.
Yeah,
and that's me.
And I just scream in the gym. Like, it is not my thing. I hate going to the gym. To this day, I don't think that I'm going to ever like going to the gym. Well, I do it anyway because I like the results of going. Yes. But do I like the gym at all? No.
Well, but to that point, that was something I had to, I don't even want to say come to grips with it, but I had to get a better understanding of it because it's like, it's what you just said, right? Like you understand the value of the gym. And so because of that, I was talking to you as if you didn't. Like I was talking to you just from the standpoint of how could you hate the gym? Like the gym's great for your health, bone health, everything like that. And I can go down the scientific list of it. But once I actually understood, okay, she understands the value of the gym. She just on an emotional level doesn't like it. I was able to change my tone just because I was like, okay, I don't need to necessarily present anything new to your perspective when it comes to the gym. All I have to do is just give you gentle pushes. Just gentle little, hey, so you want to work out later? Like, little,
That is important. When you talked about like being aware of what someone else knows, because when you're holding someone accountable, you don't need to beat them over the head with something that they already know. Like chances are they're probably already beating themselves up about it.
Ooh, that's good.
So you don't need to do extra damage because at that point it's not even going to be as meaningful or impactful. So you want to, if I know that someone, like they know that this is the 5th time that we've been in this situation, and the way that they know, and I can tell from like how they communicate about it or how they speak about themselves in the situation. I can tell like, okay, clearly you have remorse or you understand where you went wrong. So I don't need to call you out and make you feel lower than you probably feel right now. What maybe will better work in this situation is, okay, this is where we're at. How do we get to the next place? How do we get out of here? Like, let's game plan together what we're going to do next.
That's good. I think you hit on a great point, like how you just have to understand where they're at and how they're talking to themselves about that area. Because I think that's a really good practical, because I like practical stuff, like just measurable. Like if someone is out there listening and they're like, well, how do I know whether or not to be more firm or be more soft? I think what you just said is like the indicator, right? Like where it's depending on how that person views themselves in relation to that area will kind of give you the litmus test about, how to handle them. But I also think at the same time, you touch on a great point where in our communication, it's about being effective. It's not about doing what's right, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? Like you want to be effective in your communication. Like
Yeah.
with us in our relationship, like I want to make sure that I'm effective. I don't want to just say anything just because I'm the man and
Yeah,
rah,
that's
rah.
right.
Like it doesn't need to be that, right? Like because I know that internally you see me as the man and I see you as my woman, and because of that, like we communicate a certain way.
Yeah.
So I don't need to necessarily always go with a harsher, manlier tone just because it's like you know who I am, you know who I be. So like because of that, you know, I can handle you accordingly, you can handle me accordingly, just because we know where each other's at. But I'm actually interested to hear you. So with me being in the space that I'm in, right? I hold people accountable for a living. What is it like for you holding me accountable to stuff? What's that like?
Listen, I have to fight sometimes, y'all, because this one, you hold yourself to such a high standard. Like your bar is high, but and because of that, I don't think that many people have had to challenge you or hold you accountable to something because you do that yourself.
Facts.
But in the areas where it is like, okay, babe, well, don't you need to try this, or what about this? It's a debate sometimes.
Yep.
It's a debate on, I gotta come with the facts and come with the reasons.
I will
and
argue it. Absolutely.
Yes.
I will argue.
Okay. All right. You just think on that. And sometimes I may have to circle back on it.
Yep. I'm hard-headed. I'm stubborn, and I will admit it because I'm honest. There are definitely areas that I am hard-headed in, but I think that also speaks to the relationship point that we made earlier. Like even in my hard-headedness, because we have a relationship, and not just like, because we're engaged or anything like that, where it's like we really have a relationship. No, show off the ring. Let's hope no. Hallelujah. But because we have like a real relationship, like you're my best friend. You know what I'm saying? Like we have a relationship.
My best friend.
Oh, thank you. That's just warms my heart. But because we have that relationship, I know when you're trying to hold me accountable, and sometimes I get in my own way because like, oh my god, like she like and I have to intentionally receive it because there are times where I'm like, she hold me accountable that one little thing, like she could do like, but I have to lean on the relationship, right? I have to set my mind on and focus on, okay, no, she wants me to be the best version of myself,
right?
As much as I do. She also really wants, more than anybody else, she wants me to be the best version of myself. So she would not be holding me accountable. And there's a level of trust in that too, right? Like you want me to be the best version of myself and you trust me. So in that, I have to trust you're not just saying something to me just to say something to me, right? Not to just say something to me just because you want to tell me something to do. It's like, no, there's a reason why I'm telling you to pick that up after yourself. like one of my biggest things, y'all, like, and I'll be honest. So if it's like middle of the day and I eat lunch and I leave a plate, let's say on the kitchen table, to me, I don't have to move it until we're actually like doing dishes. Like, just because it's like, we ain't going nowhere, especially if I'm home all day. Now I understand if I'm ripping and running, but for her, you want as soon as you get done, put it in the sink or something.
Easier to clean, rinse it out. I'm not even asking you to wash it. Just immediately just rinse it so it's not as hard to wash later.
But to me, because I'm the one that's eating most of the time, I'm like, that doesn't even logically make sense. And this is where we argue. Because to me, it's like, what's the difference? Like, I'm probably going to get another dish because I'm going to make another meal. So why does not just accumulate all the dishes and then just bring them all as a sum total at the end? But just an example. But in that, I know even in that, right? I think with our relationship, and I think it might be niche just because like we're talking about like romantic relationship for us in that example, where like there's a little bit of bend. But there are other areas of my life that you hold me accountable to that are very independent of you.
Yeah.
Like there are areas that you're like, Trevon, in order for you to reach the goals that I know that you've talked about, because we've built that relationship and you're holding me accountable in a way that's not just airing me out about the things I'm not doing. It's like you're telling me, hey, this is what you should do. And I need to receive it because I trust it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing that you pointed out was basically the defenses kicking in.
Ooh,
and I know. And when someone wants to keep you accountable or is trying to like check you, we automatically go in defense mode. I do it too. It's like, you're not about to tell me because I'm doing this and this and this, and I made progress in here, and this is what I'm doing right. So why don't you do something? Right. Like, it's very easy to go in defense mode, but even in that, you have to be aware, like, okay, is what they're saying valid? Like, do they have any points here? And recognize I'm being defensive. And I've told you that. It's like, yeah, I went into defense mode. I felt like you were attacking me. And sometimes accountability can feel like that if you're not used to someone holding you accountable. It'll feel like you are coming for me. Why? Yeah. But really, they are coming for you to challenge you so that you can grow.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key to it, right? Like, it's all about growth. And you need to have the right people around you, because I think it is easier to recognize those defenses when you have the right people holding you accountable.
Yeah.
Like, if you just have any old body holding you accountable to something, then like in your mind, you're going to validate. You know,
listen, some people don't want accountability. They don't want friends who hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Like, you want someone to agree with you. You want someone who sees things from your perspective. That's what you want.
And they're going to stay stuck. They're going to stay so stuck. Well, cause like that's the truth. Because you can't, if you're going to do anything significant, you cannot be the big fish in the little pond. Right? Like, even in, I don't know, I'll use my line of work. It's hard for somebody's defenses to go up in a manner of, well, I do this and they don't, and Trevon doesn't do. There's not much you can say I don't do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because you have the right people, and I think that's where people having mentors and coaches and everything like that, you know, having those types of people in your life, it's important, because it's like, you need to have people that even when your defenses come up, you can almost see the craziness in the defensiveness. You know what I mean? Like, where you can say, like, okay, like, kind of to the point that you made your example of, you know, well, how you just gonna come for me and you got this going on? And but like, if you say that and you have the right person holding you accountable, and once you flip it at them, like, how you gonna say that about me? You're actually doing pretty great. So you know what? I can't really say much. Like, and I think that makes it easier. It's almost like that humble pie internally to just say, you know what, to your point, like, maybe they're right. Maybe I got to look at this.
I'm going to just take this and go and think about it.
Yeah. Did you ever have a moment or something like that where, you know, someone held you accountable to something and that defensiveness kicked in, but like you realized like the craziness and the defensiveness? Like, did you ever have a moment like that?
I'm trying to think of somebody outside of you. Ooh, yes, actually. One of my friends, she checked me about my finances, and I was like, she was just like, yeah, you need to get yourself together because you are about to be married and like you want to do all these things and have a house and assets and you're a whole accountant. And what are you doing? And why are we not budgeting? Why?
Oh, thank you, friend. Thank you, friend. Thank you, friend. Whoever you are out there, thank you.
I didn't even say nothing. I didn't have no fight back. It was like, you're right. But I did say, I was like, but I'm saving X amount. Like I'm saving. It's like, okay, you probably could be saving more if you knew where your money was going. That's good. You got to be around people that raise your standards. That raise your standards. Yeah, that's important. That is. I think for me, I had a situation once where actually my parents held me accountable to something. I used to have a stretch where I was like super busy. And that's what I would tell everybody. Like, I'm busy. Like, they'd ask me to do something. I'm busy. I can't do that. I'm busy. I can't do that. I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. And then one day
I was like upstairs watching TV or something like that. I was just watching TV. It was like a Wednesday at like 1 p.m. Just watch TV. It's like, why am I doing nothing on a Wednesday at 1 p.m.? And my dad comes in the house and he just looks at me, doesn't even say a word. He just gives me a look. And like me and my dad have a relationship where I know it's a lot of nonverbal communication. And so he looks at me and I'm just like looking back, and he goes in his office, and now I'm just like sitting there thinking like, why did he look at me like that? And I'm like, Dad, I did say I couldn't do such and such because I said I was busy. And now he didn't caught me. I'm sitting here watching TV. I'm sitting here watching Netflix. Like, but it was in that moment where it clicked. And even in my, like, I didn't have as much of a defensive wall with that particular one just because it's like, that's my dad. So like, he does a lot of stuff better than me. But I looked at that and I'm like, ooh, I ain't really busy.
Yeah, caught myself.
Yeah, I got caught with that one. But I think just to the raising standards, it's very important that there is a level of self-awareness necessary, right? So that we can actually identify what our standards are, right? Like we need to understand, okay, where are we at? So that we can find the right people that can elevate those standards. That's why I think it's great when people, if they're trying to get their finances right, they go get a financial coach, or they go get the information, right? If you're trying to improve your mindset, you go get a mindset coach, whatever. And I'm using coach as an example, but you just go seek out people that can hold you accountable to those areas to raise the standards. And even to a degree, depending on your relationship with your friends, they may not be at the level that is above you, but if they also have the same desire for improving those standards, that they can still hold you accountable, right? Because then it's basically two people just saying, the current level that we're at isn't good enough, so we have to go to the next level. And I think that even that helps build, the relationship. Momentum, like, because I know, all my close friends, there's like a really good, healthy competition between all of us, And for me being an entrepreneur, them being in the corporate world, it's on two very different scales. But when I see them, talking about accomplishments and things got, all this stuff going on, I'm sitting back. I'm like, oh no, they ain't about to outdo me. Like, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, hold up. He had a great announcement in January. He had a great little something happening in March. Nah, I need to make sure I got something coming in May. Something like I gotta, but I think that it's a level, and I mean, maybe that's for guys, but I do think having the right people around you that are all aware of themselves, aware of each other, but then also really communicate well in a way that's effective, just really allows for like healthy and effective accountability.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Wow. Well, guys, we did it. Joy did a podcast. This is so awesome.
Woo!
So, what'd you think? First podcast in the
we did it. Thing. Talking to you isn't hard. That's why I'm with you. Because we have great conversation.
Get you one, y'all. Get you one, y'all. But I hope that you got value out of this conversation, because the truth is, you need somebody to hold you accountable. Accountability is necessary. We all need it, no matter what level you're at. But be sure to like, comment, subscribe, engage. If you have questions, leave it in the comment section so we can answer them, because we'd love to hear from you. If you haven't, go check out the last episodes. That way you can get ready for the next episode. If you haven't, also get your ticket to the Dreamer Symposium. You were at last year's Symposium. I was. So you talk about it, because they've heard me talk their head off about it.
Already. I mean, honestly, we talk about accountability. If you want accountability, you should be there, because that is taking one step in holding yourself accountable. So there, like, yes, you will meet people who you will bond with and connect with, and who can be in your circle as accountability partners. But the first step is, if you are aware that you need accountability, you need to come to the Dreamer Symposium, because it will challenge you to reevaluate like yourself, your goals, and the actions that you're taking to get to the next step, to get to your dream lifestyle. So
there you go. See, you didn't hear it from me this time, but you heard about how important it is that you're there. So be sure to get your ticket, dreamersymposium.com, or just go in the description. Link is in there. Always remember, your dream is possible as long as you're willing to work for it. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.